Thank you again for being here this afternoon. We greatly appreciate y'all coming out here. So, order number 1, we are officially called to order. Item number 2 on your agenda, the approval and modification of our agenda. Does anyone need to submit something to modify the agenda? I'm going to make a motion. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Sharon. And second? Second, thank you, Destiny. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. The agenda has been approved. We're going to move to number 3, public comment. At this time, there were no submitted public comments since the last CAC meeting. Do we have anyone in the room that would like to address the CAC today? Okay. Hearing none, then we're going to move on to number 4, which is a summary of our minutes. You have those attached to your agenda for October 9th, 2025 and December 11th of 2025. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes from October and December?
Motion.
Thank you, Sharon. In a second. Thank you. Oh, and just a quick reminder, please use your mics when making any additional motion seconds for us. You hit the second button that looks like a little person that's talking. And again, that's for the point of order for recording.
Who was ours?
Second, I believe, yes. Thank you. Okay, moving right along to item number 5, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Crump.
So thank you, Madam Chair. The Chair has asked me to facilitate the election of your officers for the Community Advisory Committee. Quan made me aware that at your last CAC meeting, you did have a conversation about potential candidates. And while there was not a quorum, you did have a tentative agreement for those in attendance that Ms. Lauren Roberts was willing to continue as your chair of the CAC, and Malia Amos was willing to accept the role of vice chair. So with that as background information, I'll open the floor for nominations for your chair and vice chair for the Community Advisory Committee. Anyone who would like to make a nomination? So to be able to move forward, we do need the CAC to make a nomination to identify the sitting. Obviously, the candidates would not be able to make that motion.
I would like to make a nomination that we accept the chair position for Lauren Roberts and vice chair as Malia Amos.
Thank you very much. And any other nominations? Going once? Going twice? Okay, so bear with me, not just because my name is Bob, but we do have to follow Robert's rules. So I would need a motion to close nominations. A motion by Mr. Zolas to close nominations. Is there a second to close nominations?
Second.
We have a second. Mr. Evans, thank you. Okay, so we have on the table a nomination to elect as your Community Advisory Committee Chair, Ms. Lauren Roberts, and your Vice Chair, Malia Amos. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Madam Chair, congratulations.
And Malia sends her regards. She's unfortunately not feeling well today, so she was unable to be with us today. Thank you, Bob, for leading us through that. We're going to move on to item number 6 on our agenda, which is membership approval. Quan, I'm going to turn that over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the CAC membership subcommittee has met and is presenting membership recommendations for the group and requesting approval of these membership applications listed below. So members recommended for approval are Thomas Fenderson for Isle of Wight. There are 2 vacancies out of 2 total for Isle of Wight. Mary Mills Collins for Newport News, there are 2 vacancies out of 3 positions total. Thomas Dudley II for Newport News, there are 2 vacancies out of 3 total. Kelly Cooper for Hampton, there are 3 vacancies out of 3 total for Hampton. And then William Webb for Suffolk, and there are 2 vacancies out of 3 total. Do we have a motion to approve those membership recommendations as presented?
Motion to approve.
All right, thank you. And do we have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. All right, and for all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Any opposed? All right, with unanimous consent, the motion is passed.
Okay, congratulations to those of you that are here today. Again, we are very happy that we continue to grow our impact with some new CAC members. So again, thank you for those of you that have joined us, and congratulations. All right, now on to some fun stuff, y'all. We're going to move to item number 7, and we are going to have a presentation on the Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP, from our HRTPO staff.
Good morning, everyone, or I should say good afternoon by now. I am Kathleen Grauberger, and I am a transportation planner with the HRTPO here. And I am the person that is in the weeds every day with the Transportation Improvement Program for the Hampton Roads region. Just a brief overview. The current TIP is currently spanning the years FY 2024 to 27. It is updated every 4 years. And within the TIP, every single project in the region that has federal funds on it or that is considered regionally significant must be in the TIP per federal requirements. The TIP is actually a core function of the HRTPO, and we are federally mandated to have this program. These programs, like I said, must be included to advance with construction. Right here in front of you are 2 pictures, just a variety of projects that we have in the TIP. The one on the left is the HRBT expansion project, and the one on your right is the Amtrak station in Newport News that was recently completed. Where does the TIP fit into the regional transportation planning process? The planning part of it is taken care of by the Long-Range Transportation Plan, and Dale Stith from the HRTPO will be discussing that shortly and have a hands-on activity for you to do. And that is a 20-year blueprint. And after we have an established and approved LRTP, then the programming takes over, and I am a part of the programming department, and that is real money, real dollars on the projects in the region. And there, with the real money, these projects are implemented and constructed, and studies can be conducted. Very briefly, we have 352 projects in the current TIP, totaling approximately $13 billion. And we have these broken out by different systems. And a few that you would be familiar with is the interstate system, public transportation. The TA stands for Transportation Alternatives, which is mainly sidewalk projects, restoration projects, or bike and ped facilities. The primary, secondary, and urban are all different systems of roadway projects. The TIP is a living document. We are in it every day. I am updating it. We work with VDOT, DRPT, the local transit agencies, and our localities here to maintain that these projects are up to date. I envision it like gardening. In order to grow your food, to grow great flowers, you have to maintain it, you have to get the weeds out, you have to fertilize it. That's what we do on a daily basis with the TIP. We are now in the middle of creating and developing our next TIP, which will cover FY '27 through '30. Starting back in July of 2025, we began coordinating with VDOT and DRPT to develop a draft list of projects. And I have been going back and forth with VDOT and reviewing and editing. And right now, we are currently getting ready to post the draft TIP project list onto the HRTPO website for stakeholder and public review. I will provide that link in just a couple of slides. It'll be a 2-week public review and comment period. Then we will have a physically constrained final TIP project list, which will go to the board to be approved. After that, we will then create the draft TIP document, which includes all the project information that was included in the draft project list, but in tip sheet form. So each project will have its own individual page. And then that will go out for a 30-day public review. The final TIP document is scheduled for board approval in May of 2026. And the TIP document itself will go live October 1st of 2026. With our TIP, we always have a public review period for amendments, which need to be approved by the board. So those are always posted on our website for public review. We also like to engage the public on our website. We're very transparent. We are very proud of being transparent with our TIP and our other documents. And with this upcoming TIP that we are developing, we will be creating a TIP video for public consumption, and then we will also have flyers. We plan to have a 1-page summary sheet on what the TIP is. So that is how we are trying to grow, our public participation and to inform our stakeholders even more on what the TIP is. Our next steps with the development will be, as I said, February 17th, this coming Tuesday, we will post our draft project list for the new TIP. And this link right here will take you directly to the public notice page, and then you will see the public notice and you can click on the list. This presentation will be uploaded to the website after this meeting, and I understand that we will also be sending out an email to CAC members when it is posted, so you will also have the direct link there. And as I said previously, on May 21st, we are anticipating board approval, and then October 1st, the new TIP will then be live. And that is a very brief overview of a very large program. And I'll take any questions if you have them. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Can turn on the mic.
Okay, thank you. My question is, I see that the plans are for the future of transportation and all, but in the process of looking towards the future, are you being mindful of what's going on in the community in a lot of the older areas that I do understand that we want to upgrade, but we don't want to lose the communities that we have, and also with the fact that we have our senior saints, which are our foundation. I know that we are mindful of saving the historical buildings and monuments, but also we have to also be mindful of our historical communities and what they have put into our cities as well.
Yes, ma'am. With the long-range transportation plan and the transportation improvement program, we are mindful of that. with the TIP, the projects, I'm sorry, with the long-range transportation plan, that is when the planning of everything takes place. And once the projects are in the plan, the TIP then takes over. The TIP is actually the real money, and so we are submitted projects by localities, by the public, and by DRPT, and by the transit agencies. So yes, we are always looking to preserve our communities, and if you ever, have a concern, or if you have a project in mind, please let us know.
Okay, well, what I see is that all of a sudden there is a lot of development and growth of the interstates and highways, but there is no development and improvement within the community and the city. And I'd have to just share and be honest, I don't know who making the design for the interstate, but a lot of the bypass, by the time we take the bypass, we should already go on and pay for the tolls and go through. But then the tolls are affecting us because when things were first put out to the public, it was put out that we were going to be expanding to be able to help with traffic and travel time and everything. But we didn't know when we voted to do the expansion that you all would do the tolls on us and everything. And it's a little disheartening for us because when we try to contact the right person or entity, which highway or interstate we are going across and we have in the tolls, we're finding that a lot of that is outskated to someone that's not even locally within our city. And then when we try to talk to someone, we on the phone forever. And, if we are traveling and our funds ran out, automatically you charge us a late fee or a service fee to send us an email or a message to say that we need to replenish. So I ask you all to keep all that in mind, and I end.
I was going to ask Bob to address this. Yes, thank you, Bob.
So absolutely. So first off, thank you. As Kathleen said, these are exactly the type of questions, concerns, comments that we're very interested in, and to have you part of this Community Advisory Committee. This is your place and your voice to submit those comments. I will say, perfect meeting to be talking about this because, well, as Kathleen said, she has a document that's really writing checks, if you will, for the projects. In a couple of agenda items, we're going to be talking big picture about long-range transportation planning, and Dale is going to help us walk through that. And that's just a great place for you to be expressing some of those comments, right? You've touched on some really important issues there. Interstate improvements, how do you balance that with community preservation? How do you balance that with finding funding to also improve more local roads, right? As you point out, issues pertaining to tolls and express lanes, those are really, really important issues, and I think important issues to bring up a little later on in our agenda. As we do the work here at the regional level, there's a couple of places we have to pull in information. One is from our local cities, and you know this real well, how they zone and how they plan for local development. We don't get to make those decisions here at the regional level. That all falls on the local cities. But we have to collect all that information together, what's happening around your neighborhood, what's happening around other neighborhoods, and then put that together in a regional picture to try to plan for the future of transportation. And then when those projects are identified, we have to coordinate with VDOT in terms of how they construct the projects, how we move forward and pay for them, how we design them. But the good news is, by coming here, we can connect you to those audiences and to those, to VDOT in particular, and express those comments. So I would ask that maybe we hold some of those comments for now, but in about 20 minutes, we're going to be right on. And I think your comments are going to fit right into the conversation we're about to have today. So thank you for bringing those up. Appreciate it.
Any other questions for Kathleen? Thank you, Kathleen. Okay, as Kathleen mentioned, we will be sure to send out that tip information so that if you would like to post a public comment to it, you could absolutely do that. Again, as members of the CAC, we encourage you to share those out within your community for public comment as well. Moving on to item number 8, Amtrak service changes during Long Bridge construction. Dr. Robert Case, our HRTPO Chief Transportation Engineer.
Good afternoon, everyone. Don't want to be too loud, don't want to get too close to this thing, but can you hear me? Okay. All right. Well, I'm excited today to tell you about some of these changes. So first, let's talk about what they call the Long Bridge Project. This is one of the biggest, probably the biggest public rail project, I would think, in the history of Virginia. It's over $2 billion. What it's trying to do is double the capacity across the Potomac River at Washington, D.C. And that's where a lot of the train traffic goes, freight and passenger. And so there's a lot of pressure there. You have commuter rail in Northern Virginia, a lot of people don't know exists. And you have Amtrak, and you have and then you have these freight trains that are running there. So anyway, it's a big project, and as part of that, they need to do work in D.C. proper, and D.C. has noise and vibration regulations, and so what that results in is work during the day, and that's when a lot of time we want our trains to run during the day, but they're going to institute, and actually they started it January 12th, so a month ago today, and this 5-hour, what I'm calling a closure window, and so the trains can't go roughly between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m., okay, because they're working on the tracks. And so not only that, it's expected to last about 5 years while they do this project. So needless to say, they had to move a lot of trains around, a lot of schedules, had to reschedule a lot of stuff. And so that's what I'm talking to you about today. So before the 12th of January, we had what I call 2 trains on the peninsula, 2 trains going north, 2 trains coming south, coming back to the station, and 3 from Norfolk, 3 going up, 3 coming back. Now, you can see the map on the right there, and you can see that the Newport News train stopped in Williamsburg, and then they stop again in Richmond and Ashland and Fredericksburg and Quantico, Alexandria, D.C. And then they go on. They go on to New York or Boston, most of them. So that was before. Then what I'm showing at the top there, what we had planned before this Long Bridge project, they had planned to add an additional train to the Newport News, the peninsula side, so that would have given them 3. So then the important thing today is this actual, the bottom 4 bullets there. So Newport News, instead of 3 trains, will have 2 trains and 2 buses. So versus a month ago, that's an addition of two routes. Williamsburg stay the same, and you'll see why, because the buses don't stop in Williamsburg. Okay. Then Norfolk will have 2 trains, well, has today 2 trains and 2 buses instead of 3 trains. So that's an additional route. It's a loss of a train, but it's a gain of 2 buses, so it's an additional route. And then Virginia Beach has, the buses start in Virginia Beach. So Virginia Beach has new, what I call 1-seat service. So in other words, you don't have to ride a little bus, then get on the train and get a different seat and go where you're going. This is one seat. You get on the bus or you get on the train and you go to where you're going. And so Virginia Beach hasn't had that. What they have had is a short little bus from Virginia Beach to Norfolk, and then you get on the train. So this is a new thing for Virginia Beach. Okay. Now, I'm trying to go sort of quickly because we've got a lot to do this afternoon with the long-range plan that was mentioned earlier. But I'm going to try to help you understand what's going on with the buses and the trains. So this is a table, sort of complicated, for northbound. So that's leaving here and going up towards Washington or wherever you're going. They mostly go up north. You can see on the left, we've got 6 options. So you've got 4 train options. 2 of those start in Newport News, 2 of those start in Norfolk. And you got 2 bus options. And all these new buses, Amtrak hasn't, as far as I've known, they've never done this. They've never run buses, long-distance buses like this. And they're doing it because, see, those buses don't have to obey the rail window. They can just go right on to Union Station. And so a couple of things about this chart that stand out. One, that you've got 6 options. 2, that these services leave in the morning and in the afternoon. They don't leave at night. They leave in the morning and the afternoon. All right, let's move on to southbound. So you're coming back from wherever you went, Boston, Philadelphia, wherever you went. You're coming back. Again, you have 6 options, 4 trains, 2 buses. You can see the buses I've done in blue so that they stand out. And the thing to note here is that, particularly if you look over at the Norfolk or Virginia Beach columns, you can see all these things come back in the afternoon, in the PM. So starting around the middle of the day, they come into Newport News and Norfolk and Virginia Beach, and then on down until you get almost to midnight. Okay? So that's the difference between going up in the morning and in the afternoon, coming back mostly in the PM. Okay. Now, moving on. I tried it. I wanted to see, because this hasn't existed. I'd ridden the train before. How many of you in here have ridden the Amtrak train? Okay, good. Well, needless to say, I think I'm probably the only one in the room who's ridden this new bus service. Would that be true? Okay. All right. So, yeah, everybody raise their hand. Yeah, then I sit down, they'll have more time. But anyway, so I started at 5:30 in the morning because that's when that first one leaves. And you'll see some pictures of that in a second. But so I set my alarm for 4:30, left the house at 5:30. Well, anyway, the thing to note here is that it goes from Virginia Beach over to Norfolk, up to Newport News, and then that's it. It goes all the way to Union Station without stopping. Okay, so that's pretty amazing. So that's the good news if you're in one of those, you know, if you live in sort of central Hampton roads, that's good. And then you don't have to stop. So you see, these are actual times here, not the scheduled times. So I was 7:21 at Newport News, and then 10:14, less than 3 hours to get to Union Station. And that's for a couple of reasons. But one, the main reason is they get to use those express lanes up in Northern Virginia. So if you've ever been up there, you know what that's like. And then I just had lunch at Union Station, fairly quickly turned around, got back on the train at 12:17, on the bus at 12:17, and then Newport News, Norfolk, got back to Virginia Beach, 4:46. So roughly for me, roughly a 12-hour day. And so anyway, what did I find? Well, one, that this is where you meet the bus in Virginia Beach. Virginia Beach doesn't have a train station, of course, so down by the convention center, they have a bunch of bus shelters, and across the street from that is the Amtrak bus stop, and it looks just like that on the right, and that's 5:30, that's me getting on, and that's what it looks like. It just has a little Amtrak sign on the post there. All right, then I was the only one who got on in Virginia Beach, not too surprisingly, at 5:30, and that's what that beautiful blue bus looked like on the inside, and I had my choice of seats, of course, but I will say about a dozen got on in Norfolk and about a dozen got on in Newport News. Okay, just quickly, you actually, because of the casino construction, you actually catch the bus out on the street, and that's what that middle picture shows. And then here's my leg room. So that's the difference. I'm tall. That's the difference with the train. If you've been on the train, you know there's a lot of leg room. Not as much, but the bus was nice, and the bus driver was nice. And there we are in the express lane. And then there, last but not least, we are in Union Station. Amazing station if you've never been there. So takeaways, 4 one-seat routes, that's for each side. It turns out to be a total of 6 because they overlap. But anyway, Virginia Beach now has one-seat service, which it never had before, and the travel times are good. So what are we going to do next? Well, we're going to monitor this bus ridership, see how many people are riding it. And then we're also, every year recently, we've put in our legislative agenda to improve the rail system. And so if you have any questions, ask me now or contact me later at those numbers. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
How long,
Well, we think that it's going to take about 5 years to build that project, so this is going to be around for about 5 years. Others, good. Yes, ma'am. Hey, doctor to doctor. Michael.
Okay, there we are. Hey.
Hey.
Curious, how are local constituents learning about this new route?
Well, it has been in the papers a few times, I think, and we're trying to get the word out, through things like this. Otherwise, I'm not sure. I think it was on the news, I think. That we had some news articles. TV news.
So I'll be very honest, as I always try to be with these responses. We were incredibly concerned when we lost trains to buses, incredibly concerned. And when we found out about that in August, we found out about it without any public announcement. We found out about it through our contacts about 4 weeks before they were going to launch this change. So our organization immediately did media blast and did blast all email circulation to all of our elected officials and all of our community partners to make people aware of this. Since then, you're seeing Amtrak market the service, the Virginia Passenger Rail Authority market the service, and the Department of Rail and Public Transportation market the service. So we'll continue to push them to keep that messaging up. Why we asked Rob to do this is, we were, let me, if I may, Madam Chair, just ask a question. So how many of you would ride the bus instead of the train? A lot of people raise their hands that you've taken the train. How do you feel? Would you get on the bus to do what Rob did?
Yeah, we got 2 hands in the back.
A couple, right?
oh, yeah.
Okay, now back to how many have ridden the train to DC, right? A lot of people, right? So this is our concern. Our concern is we are one of the fastest growing regions in the Commonwealth for passenger rail service. Our ridership, Dr. K, is increasing exponentially. We are, and the staff has the numbers. We got Virginia 250 about to come to our region. The world is coming to our region, right? We didn't think this was a good time to replace trains with buses, and that concerns us. So that's why, Rob's going to be monitoring this very closely, just to see how our residents are responding to this. And I think it's like anything, they're going to have to get used to it a bit, right? But, and we've let our state partners know that, if this is not going that well, they're going to be hearing from us, and we may be back to this group to help express concerns if the ridership doesn't increase. Just swapping out a train and a bus, Rob, what would you say? A train probably carries 3 times as many people as a bus. Is that fair?
I would guess so far. Like you said, things hopefully.
So Dr. K, I think, we're encouraging Amtrak and our state partners to continue to tell the story and get the word out to our residents, so.
Yeah, one of the things that in partnership with Dr. Gatlin's question regarding data is often access, to ensure that people who would need this service or who would prefer this service have access to the information that it exists.
Well, the good news is that you go on to book your ticket on the Amtrak website, all these options are just automatically there. You don't have to say where you want to go and where you're starting, where you want to go, and then it gives you the option. You've got, I don't know, yes, ma'am, in the pink pants.
Just a quick question. Looking at the timeline you had, what would that look like if you had taken the train, if the construction wasn't occurring? What's
Yes,
like
good
the
question.
time difference in the?
Similar time, similar amount of time, the difference being that the train actually goes a little bit faster, but it stops more. Good question. I hadn't directly compared the two, but that's, I do know that the train goes 79 miles an hour out 60, and I do know that it stops a bunch. Yes, sir.
We have the one bus at 5:30.
Yeah.
Vans going up. What happens if you get to Newport News and you're booked out? Do people have to pre-book?
Well,
Because you're more limited than the trains were.
yeah, so we would hope that the thing gets full, but that hadn't happened yet. So, and they say they'll add another bus if it.
Question was, the bus fare versus the train fare.
Same.
Same prices?
Same, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
These go up and back. 38 each way or 38? Say it again? 50-something total. That's pretty good.
I would suggest, and I don't know where, so, is have we connected with our on Instagram? I really like out there actually having some social media in that space. Have folks who are influencers in travel space. They will, highlight this and go out there and do similarly to what you did, but get video and get reels.
Yeah, actually, Amtrak and the Virginia Passenger Rail Authority have been doing that. In fact, I just read an article that their staff are riding the train with some of the customers who have had shift in service, and so they've been trying to, but that they've already started doing. Whether they're using influencers, I don't have an answer. Quite active on.
And then once we do an article on this, that will get out. Yes.
Yeah, my question is, will you be stopping in smaller cities, like say Suffolk and Portsmouth?
That's a good question. Quickly, the trains, the Norfolk train stops in Petersburg, at Ashland, and several places on up. The Newport News train stops in Williamsburg and then Richmond. And we have, the city of Suffolk is trying to get a station built in Suffolk, and then the Norfolk train would stop there if they can find the money to do that. Good question.
Other questions for Dr. Case? Dr. Case, thank you very much. I would also add, I view all CAC members as influencers, regardless of how large your platforms are. So please share this news. Please, make people aware of what Dr. Case just presented on. All right, we are moving right along to item number 9, from needs to reality, making transportation choices for the 2050 long-range transportation plan. Dale Stiff.
All right, good afternoon. So today we're here to talk about fiscal constraint when we're doing long-range planning, and we have an interactive, hopefully fun, exercise for you all to help demonstrate how we go from big ideas about transportation for the region to making realistic investment decisions. So kind of an overview of the activity that we have planned. I'm going to give some background slides about what we mean by fiscal constraint in the long-range transportation plan. Then we're going to have you all actually do a trade-off activity, about 25, 30 minutes on these first 4 tables. So when we break, all members that aren't at the first 4 tables come up. And we'll have facilitators to help you make those tough decisions that we've had to make tough decisions with our regional stakeholders. We'll do a quick report out for each table and then close and talk about how you can provide feedback on our draft fiscally constrained project list for the region. So high level, a long-range transportation plan, it is one of our core features, core products that we have to do as a metropolitan planning organization. Just as Kathleen had said earlier, our short-term transportation improvement program is also a core function. But our long-range transportation plan, or LRTP for short, is that 20-year transportation blueprint that guides transportation investments over the next 20 to 25 years. Its goal is to identify affordable and resilient priorities for the region. It includes input from the public and from lots of local, regional, state, and federal stakeholders. This body gave us ideas for candidate projects to analyze for our 2050 long-range transportation plan. We do update it every 5 years so that we can make sure we're always reflecting changing priorities and conditions across the region. The graph on the right kind of shows high level how we develop a long-range transportation plan, assess current conditions, forecast growth, assess those future conditions, evaluate and prioritize across multiple plausible scenarios, and then identify funding, again, which is why we're here today to talk about fiscal constraint. So just high level, the long-range transportation plan can be viewed as that bridge from transportation needs, those vision projects, those ideas to make our lives better in terms of transportation, and what we can actually fund, again, that transportation improvement program that Kathleen had presented earlier. So the LRTP says, what can we actually afford over a 20-year period? Any project that is regionally significant in our region has to be included in a long-range transportation plan before it can advance to construction. So this shows our framework for developing a plan. Again, just very simplified visual. First, we develop our framework. In our region, we do scenario planning. So we're saying we really can't predict the future, so we're going to pick multiple plausible futures of how the region may grow. We forecast that in terms of population and employment, establish a vision for the long-range transportation plan and associated goals. So our vision for the 2050 is simply just to provide transportation for all. We identify those regional needs. Again, this body helped identify candidate projects. We evaluate and prioritize them with our prioritization tool. A couple of months ago, this committee had an opportunity to review those draft scores and provide feedback, which we appreciated very much. And then the hardest part is that fiscal constraint, making those tough decisions about, of those priorities, how much can we actually afford. So when we collected, we actually, when working with the public, collected about 600 candidate projects. Many were duplicate, and many we don't actually have to analyze as part of a long-range transportation plan because we're only looking at those regionally significant projects. So we funneled those down to about 300, and when we total those up, it's $85 billion. That is a ton of money for those regionally significant transportation needs. And that's just over a 20-year period. So although it would be fantastic for this region to have $85 billion over 20 years, we will not. We have identified between like 18 and 20 billion to add, which is still a large number. It is great for this region, but as you can see, it's far short of the needs that we have identified. This is not uncommon to our previous long-range transportation plans. You can see for again, every 5 years we're updating this plan. We often have this significant gap between needs that we've identified and those available funds that we actually have to realistically invest in our transportation network. And what that means is how we prioritize them is very important, and we need to prioritize them based on regional values. This is just another way to look at that in terms of funneling. We're collecting, working with the public to collect those ideas, looking to see, is it something we need to look at in a long-range transportation plan? Is it compatible with locality and agency growth plans? We prioritize to say which of these actually provide the most benefit for our region. And then again, fiscal constraint, you're going to hear me say that a lot today. And that all comprises of investments that we think will make this region better up between now and 2050. So what is fiscal constraint and why do we do it? Essentially, it is the demonstration that we have enough anticipated transportation revenues to build projects. We are required by our federal government to do this. It can't just, our long-range transportation can't be just a vision plan. We have to demonstrate that we have enough money to build the projects that we identify. All projects that we identify in the plan have to be expressed in year of expenditure dollars. That's just a complicated way to say we have to account for inflation. And again, in our region, we use our prioritization tool to be able to say these are projects that we've looked at, and we've looked at forecasted benefits, and these are the ones that we have identified in a data-driven way that provide the most benefit for our region. Again, short way to look at that is our revenue forecast has to be greater than or equal to our project costs. So when we look at our forecasted revenues between now and 2050, and I'm just looking at federal, state, and regional dollars, we're forecasted to have about $42 billion. One of the things that we have to do is we have to take care of transportation roads that exist today and transit. So almost half gets pulled right off the top to preserve our existing transportation network. We also, with our HRTAC and our regional transportation funds, we have some debt service that we have to account for. So it leaves about $16 billion in federal, state, and regional funds for new capacity, new improvements to our roadway. And this graphic on the right doesn't really matter about the funding sources, but it's just to show you that we have several different funding sources, again, federal, state, and regional, that we use to identify this funding plan for the next 20 years.
Dale, I'm sorry, do you mind going back to the last slide? Do you mind just expounding for a quick moment on the regional HRT, HRRT funds, just for those members?
Just, again, high levels. I don't want anyone to focus too much on the dollars, but we tax ourselves here in the Hampton Roads region. And that's not, I think there's only two areas, there are three in the Commonwealth that have a regional tax to fund transportation because federal and state dollars fall way short of what we need. And so we've been doing that since 2013. And you can see just by the bar chart that most of the funds that we have for transportation come from our regional sources, come from our own communities to have transportation. And then just to touch on this, we do have some localities that also identify local funds for regionally significant projects, Virginia Beach being one of the that identifies the most. So $1.5 billion of Virginia Beach dollars towards these regionally significant projects within the city of Virginia Beach. And then we also have some other localities. So that's almost another close to $2 billion that we have in local funding to improve our regional transportation system. One of the things we do when we're developing our long-range transportation plan is we have to account for committed projects. These are projects that are already under construction or soon will be. Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel is a great example. The express lanes, and there's lots of local projects that are under construction or soon will start. Those have to go on our plan, and they're automatically included. It's about $2 billion worth for our region. We also have our regional priority projects. So Quan had just asked about that regional funds. We have identified highway, transit, and active transportation regional priority projects. These are also projects that have previously been identified as projects that have a lot of benefit to reduce congestion for a significant number of residents across the region. These are already in the pipeline being planned, so these are automatically also included in our 2050 transportation plan, and I put some estimates at what those are going to cost over the next 20 years. So you see $4.3 billion for roadway improvements of these regional priority projects. Our 757 Express is $275 million, and then we've also set aside some funds for the Trail 757 and Southampton Roads Trail to make sure progress on those regional trails continues. Now, we do have a framework for doing this because ultimately when we're trying to plan for 20 years, we want to make sure that this transportation network is multimodal and then it's balanced across the region. So not just all interstate. We heard a comment earlier. Besides just interstate investments, we need to be looking at roads within our community. Now, we won't often look at local roads in our long-range transportation plan, but those primary and secondary feeder roads into the interstate that connect the local landscape to these more regionally significant roadways, we want to make sure we're capturing those in our plan, and we're balancing our funding assumptions across these. So now it's your turn to try to mimic some of these decisions that we've been working on with locality and regional stakeholders for the last few months. So in front of all of you, you have some maps, some strings, and some scissors. So it's a little arts and crafts session. And I stated we have about $20 billion available for the next 20 years, and we've pre-cut some string that represents your $20 billion. So your job is to invest in our region. Some rules on the map, you'll see there's already some color-coded lines: red for roads, blue for transit, green for active transportation. When you cut your string, you can cut it to any length. It needs to stay within those lines. You cannot invent a new project because these are candidate projects. So even though maybe you have a fantastic idea for some jetpack hub, you cannot create it on this map. You got to stay within the lines. And red string on red lines, blue string on blue lines, etc. We also require that you must have all three modes represented. So you can't only have red string on your maps. You have to have table consensus, and because that's what we're dealing with. When we're dealing with for the TPO, it's 15 localities. We got to make sure everyone agrees with these investments. And when your string is gone, that's it. You've used all your money. So if you're investing in like an interstate, that's a higher cost, you have to triple your string. So it's going to use up string a lot faster. And we'll have facilitators to help you with this. If it's like a primary road, a U.S. route, like US 58, you have to double that string. And then for some of our more smaller local roads, you'll use a single string to capture those investments. You can trade. So if you want to trade some red road for more blue transit, you can do that, but it's, basically inch for inch. Facilitators at the table will help you do that. So we have about 25 minutes allocated for this, so if we could get all the CAC members up to these first four tables and the facilitators to come up and help, you guys can start playing arts and crafts. I did forget to mention, which I think the facilitators are saying, for our committed projects, we have pinned committed projects. You cannot move those, even if you don't like them. That's what we deal with. It's already committed. They're there. Priority.
So I fought that for 4 years and then got improved behind.
Okay, here's your 1-minute warning. You have 1 minute to spend the rest of your money, and then we're going to do report outs. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap up, and then we're going to do a quick report outs for each table. All right, so hopefully you all got to feel some of the pain that we have when we're dealing with 15 localities to try to spend this money. And if you left any money on the table, it's going to Northern Virginia or Richmond if we're not spending it here in the region. So hopefully you've spent your money. So we'll start with this table and do like maybe a 2-minute report out, 2 to 3 minute report out for each table.
We'll need you to use the mic.
Yeah, a lot of interest in our group about the connections both peninsula to south side as well as outside the region. So from the peninsula south side, looking at the James River Bridge and the 17 corridor and expansion of that, looking at what's happening in the western parts of the region, as well as interest in a ferry connection from the downtown areas, Norfolk, Portsmouth, into Newport News and Hampton, going out to the south of the region, both the 17, 13 corridors, but then also looking at improved transit from Isle of Wight and those types of areas connecting into the region as well. As those areas start to grow, they'll need to have that put in Dr. Case's downtown Amtrak station in Suffolk. So we have that covered, as well as then putting both the 757 trail on the peninsula connecting to Capitol Landing Trail, as well as the South Side trail. So it's really, the linkages was kind of the theme around the table of north to south to the region where we're connecting, but then also looking at, transit as the regions continues to grow, particularly to the west, introducing better transit connections into those areas that aren't well served now. So those are kind of the main themes I think this group tried to highlight.
Yes, it took us the entire period of time to understand what we were supposed to do. So we have a lot of money left over, and it's not because we didn't want to spend it, it's just we got into it. Yeah. So one of the first things we wanted to do is provide access from Norfolk to the ocean front, and that was a blue line, so transit. And we just feel just hearing a lot of that frustration out in the community. We gave Pocosin a bone. We threw them a little bitty road just to help them become a little more thriving and, support them. There's a lot of congestion in Independence, in Virginia Beach, and so we threw triple red to help them clear up that, Witch Duck, and all of those exits just clogged pretty much all the time. And then we didn't get here, but we had a lengthy conversation over getting Suffolk some access out. And we were debating, is it road, is it transit, what color do we want to make this? And we didn't really land on it because we felt that the railways are missing hubs. Once you get to where you're going, then what? You don't have wheels. And so maybe the area is just not built up enough to warrant that. I just don't know. And we also talked about there's comfort stations missing. So we've got all of this road trailer transit design, but there's no station once you arrive. You're literally dumped out into the street, and then what? So it's the and what that really got us feeling like, I don't want to do
And fantastic, and that's what we were hoping for, is to have some of these conversations about, sort of that Pandora's box. You build one thing, but then what is it connecting to, and is there enough growth and development there? So fantastic. How about this table here?
We had a really important conversation about making sure that we are supporting the needs of the local communities with the existing roads that are already in place. So we invested highly in Route 58 and making sure that those roads are going to be upkept for the development that's happening in that region. The majority of our conversation that we, again, talked about really developed around our local roads that we do already have, but making sure that they are as updated as they could possibly be so that we're not just putting focus on new, we're actually putting focus on what's already existing.
Yep. Very important conversations there, preserving what we have and leveraging maybe some roads that just need a little bit of widening instead of necessarily building something entirely new. So fantastic input there. And final table here.
Okay, we focused a lot on trying to get the highest density of traffic to the sort of reverse merge points. So out to Suffolk, to 460, 258, continuing that that expansion through 58 through the swamp, and then also trying to ensure that we are finishing out the cul-de-sac that is Hampton Road. So we did the hot lanes all the way through to Bowers Hill, but let's try and tackle Bowers Hill. Let's continue up towards the Monitor Merrimack to have those 6 lanes going all the way through there. And we know that the Monitor Merrimack would be a very expensive project, just like we're seeing with HRBT. But again, we wanted to make sure that we have consistent flow of traffic through the Hampton Roads cul-de-sac and try and make sure that we're focusing on our western freight corridor out through Suffolk, out through Isle of Wight and Southampton. On the trails side of the argument, we tried to focus more on making sure that we're putting those in areas with higher density. So we focus more on Virginia Beach because I live out in Suffolk and we love the seaboard coastline, but I don't think we really have the density now to use it as much as we would like. So we were focusing more on local expansion of the trails, and then in 2060 we can connect everything out together for that plan, but trying to make sure that we're helping out in the local communities and providing them access to it, and then focus more on expanding out that network in the future.
Love that you're thinking about 2060 already. No, it's fantastic to hear conversations both from a regional perspective and also from the local community perspective, which is exactly what we wanted. Yes, sorry. Okay.
We decided to team up, mainly because I'm still I consider myself an implant, but we really thought about a multi-nucleated process. Thank you, Dr. Cass, for that amazing word. And a way that our process could be a win-win. Larry mentioned the importance of small businesses and the connectivity to small businesses. So we really just started to think around how can we make sure that we're honoring those small businesses and the accessibility of those small businesses, while also expanding some of the roads and maybe putting partitions in some of those roads where existing projects are occurring. So I just wanted to add that and uplift that. Part of our process was thinking about win-wins for both larger areas, but also more rural areas who currently may not have as much accessibility to transportation as they would need to do so to become a more vibrant part of the Hampton Roads community.
Fantastic. And that is something that we also strive to do. You know, when we prioritize our projects, we don't want to just invest in one area or one type of system, trying to make sure that we have a balance and distributed investments across the region. So again, fantastic conversations. I hope you all had fun doing this. If you hadn't had a chance already, we had the chart over here of invest in, you know, different modes. You had $50 of our fake monopoly money, because in our LRTP world, everything is monopoly money for us, but it's how we get the planning started, right, and make sure that good ideas progress into actual built projects eventually that are mindful of our communities, that are mindful of our historic resources, and mindful of just quality of life and economic development. If you have a chance later on, we had staff. I don't know if they enjoyed it, but they actually took our draft list and they did the pin and string with the draft fiscally constrained list for 2050 long-range transportation plan. So if you want to compare your maps to this, if it were only that easy to actually find 20 billion and pin a map, I think none of us would have any transportation issues. So just to close up, again, we have been working with regional stakeholders over the last few months to identify the draft list for the 2050 LRTP, and we have this ready to be distributed. It's actually out for public review and comment currently. I just have some summary statistics on this slide. Again, we took our prioritization scores. We took guiding principles for fiscal constraint to make sure we have that balanced distributed roadway system, and then worked with our different localities, VDOT, and transit agencies. But we've identified 97 regionally significant roadway projects that we can afford over the next 20 years. 27 of those are locally funded within the city of Virginia Beach, but again, they're important regional projects. We have 5 transit projects that we can construct. One of them we've identified is that Suffolk Amtrak station. We have 21 regionally significant active transportation projects that would connect into our regional Trail 757 or Southampton Roads trail backbone. And then we've identified 12 studies. These are projects that we can't afford, but we know that they're really important to the region, so we wanted to highlight them in the long-range transportation plan as important corridors to continue to look at. So when we look at, again, a reminder of when we're saying how much funds do we think this region will have over the next 20 years, it's about $18 billion when we add up everything plus the local dollars. And then when we add up our draft fiscally constrained list, we're under that $18 billion. We're just over $15 billion. So we do actually have some money left to play with. We're going to make sure it does not end up in Richmond or Northern Virginia. We're going to continue to have conversations here with our mayors to make sure that every money is identified for a needed improvement in Hampton Roads. So we're asking this committee to take an opportunity to review the draft list. I will email it after this meeting. We also created an interactive mapping portal, so you can actually zoom in onto any of these projects. You can see how it scored when we evaluated it, where that corridor is, you know, if it's cutting through an area of interest that you want to take a closer look at. It's going to be available. We have a 30-day public review. We're asking for this committee to provide any comments you have about any of the projects that are on the list, or, you know, even if you think something's missing, let us know, because it could be something that we fold into the 2055 or the 2060 plan. But we'd like to have those comments by February 26th. So again, hope you had fun today, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out and let us know. Just real quick, in terms of approving the 2050 long-range transportation plan, we're looking for the board, our HRTPO board's going to review this draft list next week, and then coming back in March to have the board approve the list, and then adopting the 2050 for our region in May of this year. So appreciate it. Did anyone have any other questions for me?
Sure. Quick question. When we were looking at 2040 versus 2050, I saw there was a jump from 40 billion to 85 billion in overall projects. I mean, our project wish list. When it comes to that doubling, was it more the scale of the projects, the cost of the projects, or the number of the projects that really drove such a large increase from 40 to 85 over the 10-year period? I was just trying to figure out what the cost driver was. Are we just more needs, or are things just costing so much more? Or I'm sure it's a combination of all, but wanted to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, all of the above. I would say, starting with the 2040 and really the 2045 and this 2050, we had a more concerted effort to reach more members in the community, and we created more interactive ways for people to give us, for the community residents to give us ideas for projects directly and not necessarily have to come to a meeting. So in the last 10 years, having broader opportunity to provide input created more projects. So costs went up just from that, and then inflation was a significant part of that as well. Sure.
Other questions for Dale? Thank you, Dale and team, for putting together such an engaging activity for us and letting us all have a voice in the law. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Thank you for your time.
All right, we are going to move on to item number 10 on our agenda. I'm going to turn it over to Kwan for several updates for your information.
All right, all right. Thank y'all so much for participating in that activity. It was so great to walk around and just see how engaged you were, the substantive conversations that you were having, and how you really were trying to think about how to serve your community, and not just right now, but for the future. And that's really at the core of a lot of what we do here. So thank you so much. For your information, the Congestion Management Process Survey, if you'll remember at our December meeting, Mr. Keith Nichols and Ms. Teresa Brooks went through the CMP for short survey, the Congestion Management Process Survey. You all provided very helpful feedback, including updating some of the verbiage in there, making sure that it is understandable. Those changes have been incorporated directly from your input, and that survey is available. We kindly ask, please take the survey and share it with your respective communities and colleagues. There's also a public survey for the Hampton Roads Strategic Plan. So if you'll remember, Mr. Eric Walbert came to us early in 2025 and shared about the strategic plan for Hampton Roads that includes a couple of different elements and sectors. That is also available, and you'll see a link to that in your agenda. It's also on our spotlight on our main page. Please take a look at that, participate, and share that with your respective communities. And there are also 2 workshops associated with that. If you haven't already signed up for a workshop, those spots are at capacity. However, you can email in to be added to the wait list. Correct, Eric? Okay.
So if you're interested, please get on the wait list. And then just to follow up with Quan on the survey, we really want to get broad-based participation throughout the community in Hampton Roads. So please share that survey link out, and if anybody has any questions about the survey, get in touch, and please help us to publicize that and to get everybody to fill it out, because broader-based participation will just provide better base of information for us in putting the plan together. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Can I add just real quick?
Yes.
And also, participate going to have a chance to win 1 hour of $100 gift card. So.
That's an important point. there is money on the table.
And everybody likes money.
Right.
So.
Okay, thank you, Kwan. And moving right along to number 11, our old and new business, we do have just a couple quick updates. I'm going to go back over to Kwan for those.
Thank you so much. I just want to make sure that before today is over, we take a moment and we just acknowledge and appreciate Ms. Sharon Anderson. Thank you so much for sharing, or for being our vice chair and serving in that role over the last year. During your time, you've assisted us with the bylaws subcommittee as well as the membership subcommittee and brought just your general brightness and joy with you to the committee, and we greatly appreciate you for that. So thank you, Sharon. We greatly appreciate you. I also want to make sure to share with you an update about HJ28, and I'm going to tag team this update with Bob. So a couple weeks ago, we sent out a request to you all to ask for letters of support for HJ28. In short, HJ28 is looking at a study for public transit needs in Hampton Roads. If you go back to your emails, you'll see a link to the actual bill. I can also send it back out to you all. But we did receive a thank you. In quote, "We are incredibly grateful for the strong response so far. The number of letters of support and emails submitted has had a meaningful impact at this point in the process. The next stop for the resolution is the Full House Rules Committee." Well, and actually, that may already be outdated, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Bob to provide a better update.
Okay, so it's like any good stew. It doesn't matter if you make mistakes along the way, just so it tastes good at the end, right? So the good news is it's been on quite a journey, but the HJ28 is through the committees, and with any luck, it's being heard by the full House right now. Up in Richmond, and we're very optimistic it's going to be approved today, which means it crosses over to the Senate on Tuesday, and the Senate will debate it then over the next 2 to 3 weeks. So two things. I want to follow up on Quad said. Thank you. We asked you for your help to make our legislators know that public transit was important to Hampton Roads. You weighed in on that. It made a difference, so thank you. Now, to put you on notice, if we see that it starts to get hung up on the Senate side, we'll be back asking for another touch point when that time comes. But I just want to echo what Quan said. Thank you for your advocacy. Fantastic.
Thank you, Bob. All of you should have received a copy of the 2026 Hampton Roads Legislative Agenda. If you did not, or if you need an additional copy, I just want to bring your attention to the table right outside of this door where you saw your name cards. There are additional copies. Please, take a look at it. If you have questions, please let us know. It's a very important document that it came to consensus here in this room with your elected leaders, and it represents the interests and priorities of our region. And then the last item, I want to bring your attention to these documents, I just want to make sure I got the right part showing. How many of you are familiar with our fiber network that we're building out here by show of hands? Okay, so a good number of you are. I want to make sure to bring this to your attention because really Hampton Roads is on the cusp of some serious innovation and change as it pertains to our access to internet, making sure that underserved communities in our western area have access to faster internet and internet in general, but then also building out this fiber network. Bob, is there anything that you'd like to add?
So Quan mentioned these two handouts. I have plenty of copies up here. If you would be interested, I'd love for you to pick one up for yourself or any of your friends. What's happened is these transatlantic subsea cables have come ashore in Virginia Beach from international destinations, and we are tapping into those subsea cables and building out a regional fiber network. That network starts with a ring on the south side. There's an article in today's pilot for a portion of it in Chesapeake. The entire ring is going to be done this summer. And we're going to be lighting that ring up and providing service. It's going to be fast, and we think we're going to be able to bring down the increased competition, and we think we're going to be able to bring down price point. We're currently working with our peninsula partners to move it over to the peninsula. At the same time, Eric Wahlberg and his team, I say team, but Eric Wahlberg has really been managing a last mile build out to homes. Eric, I believe almost 11,000 addresses in western Suffolk, Southampton County, and Isle of Wight. These are people that didn't have broadband before. 11,000 households now are going to have last mile broadband. So what this talks about is there are some international experts that say if you take a look at where the next global internet hub is going to be, it's going to be Hampton Roads in Richmond, because of these subsea cables coming ashore, because of how we're beginning to attract technology companies, because of how much fiber we are building across our communities. In Hampton Roads alone, we're at over 3,000 linear miles of fiber that we're building, right? So encourage you to pick this up. Again, they're up here in the box. Please pick up all that you want. But Quan and I were talking. We'll queue up a presentation and briefing on this in more detail in some of your coming meetings, so we can get you right up to date on everything. So.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Bob. I really appreciate that. And those are the updates that I had for Old New Business.
Okay. And I just want to again congratulate our newest members of the CAC that were voted upon today. We're very excited to have all of you. I also want to thank Sharon for her service to the CAC and all that she's done for us. And again, my last call to action to all of you is, again, as CAC members, please make sure that you're sharing the information that you received today. Go out there and get public comment from your community. Share those resources so that they can get that information and so that they can have their voice be heard as well. So with that, I'm going to move to number 12, which is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Come on, y'all. I know you want to go home. Thank you, Sharon. And do a second?
Second.
Thank you. And so we are adjourned for today. Again, thank you all so very much for being with us today.